In this video, I'm gonna be telling you how to know whether your goals are gonna succeed or not. So, I've started a personal brand about 6.5 months ago, and I didn't make money from the personal brand itself on YouTube for up to the first 5.5 months. It wasn't until about a month ago I made my first money from starting this personal brand. So how did I stick with it for so long to actually get it to the point where I was able to make money even through times when I was getting 10, 20 views per video and then see success with it in the long run? I'm gonna tell you the 2 essential things that you need to do when setting any goal if you wanna actually be able to have success with it in the long run and see it through to be something that you can ingrain into a long-term habit that's gonna allow you to get dividends and really see the long-term gains from the efforts you put in, and how something's gonna fail if you don't set everything up right. These 2 things I'm gonna tell you. So the first thing is gonna be the motivation behind what you're doing. So when I went into personal branding, this is actually my second attempt. I started 3 years ago, but the motivation for starting then was I had just gotten broken up with, and I wanted to kind of spread some positive info for guys, get them onto self-improvement, which is what I had done. But I really didn't have any deep motivations for doing it beyond that. And I was still a little bit of a shy, insecure kid. I was just then breaking out of my shell, doing all the stories that I now tell you guys. So I still didn't have that internal confidence. And when I reintegrated into society after doing my monk mode, I kind of panicked and I was like, people see my personal brand. I don't know if I want to have everyone know that I'm on social media. I still cared about those things at that point. So I just went incognito mode on all the platforms that I was on. And then I started living my life back to being normal, which was the biggest mistake I could have made. But the reason I did that was because I didn't have a solid motivation to keep me going beyond wanting to feel better from my breakup and spread a little bit of positivity to guys out there. So once I felt better from the breakup, my motivation for pursuing that was over. Where now, after having experienced life for the last 3 years, going into different sales jobs, seeing how with the wrong vehicle, it can be very difficult to make money, but with the right vehicle, it can be extremely easy. So that was one of the big ones. Another one was I've been trying to find guys on the similar wavelength of mindset, trying to, improve themselves, do cool things with their life, who don't just want to work a 9 to 5 or anything dumb like that. And it has been very, very difficult to find people who are on that same path. So that's another reason for creating this was I want to have a brotherhood of guys that I can spend the rest of my life with. I want to set up a system of attraction where I'm bringing in people to me through my content instead of having to go around and try and find people all around the world where it's going to be extremely difficult. So that in itself is a reason to constantly produce content on top of the money, which is already so big. And the list goes on and on. I have an entire list of reasons why I'm doing my personal brand now. And this is why when I was only getting 10 views per video when I first started out, I was able to keep going because I knew that this was a long-term play. So the first thing that you really need to dial in is that motivation for why you're doing this, and making sure the motivation is something that is very long-term and fail-proof, where it's like, okay, so once I get better from my breakup in that first personal branding story, am I just gonna revert back to not doing personal branding because I feel better now, or am I gonna continue this? And as there's gonna be people who continue it and see it through to be a long-term business, there's gonna be people who also stop once that first initial motivation comes to a complete. So the goal that you need to have in mind needs to be very long-term and adaptable, where it's like, one of the biggest ones for me is now have a vehicle that I can utilize to start many successful businesses over the rest of my life. So that's already, the goal is talking about businesses the rest of my life, instead of just saying feel better from a breakup. Do you see how there's a big difference between those 2 goals? The biggest desire for wanting to do this is something that's very long-term oriented. The second thing is attract like-minded people so that I can always be surrounded by guys who are on self-improvement, want to level up in their lives, and I always have guys to go hiking, rock climbing, shooting, all the cool activities, talking to girls with, travel the world, do all these things with, so I don't have to try and just move to a city, meet someone. It's like, no, I can expedite this entire process by just creating content, creating businesses. It just becomes so much easier, and it makes so much more logical sense in my mind to have done this path. So the motivations need to be very long-term oriented and something that once you accomplish that initial goal, you don't just revert back to your old habits or just quit that because you achieved the one thing that you wanted out of it. So that's how you're gonna really set your motivation up to have long-term success. The second thing is gonna be the systems you put in place. So for example, one of the best things you can do is have a system that is not gonna be gratification dependent. So for example, me creating content is one of the highest forms of frequency that I feel during my day because I'm giving. I'm putting out positive information into the universe. I know there's people watching this. Even if the video doesn't get that many views, there will be at least one or two who watch it all the way to the end, hopefully more, and someone's gonna get a positive message out of this and hopefully be inspired to make some sort of change in their life that will benefit them. So I know I'm doing something that is very high frequency. I'm giving, I'm putting myself out there, and I know that this is something that's a net positive for me and the world as a whole. So when your actions are based off of something that is not just instant gratification and it's really delayed, where it's not just like, okay, I need to make this YouTube video so I can make $1 million. Because when you don't make that $1 million, the systems that you put in place are not gonna sustain. But when it's just, oh, my highest purpose is giving, and that's what I wanna do every single day, is I just wanna give on this video, and then the other things that I talked about, the motivations, are gonna be a byproduct of those are gonna be a success as a byproduct of the daily systems that I put in place. Now you have a plan that will actually lead to long-term success. So you really need to make sure that the systems you put in place are in alignment with your goals and your motivations for the long term. So if the system is just, oh, research as much as I can to try and get a viral video to pop off, because even if you did get that viral video, now you're just gonna be chasing the next one and the next one, and if you don't get it once again, the system is flawed. So you need to have those two things dialed in correctly. So when it comes to setting goals, I would highly, highly recommend that you really, really think through at the highest level possible what the motivations are and what the systems you're gonna put in place behind it will be in order to achieve that. Because if you get these two things properly dialed in, you will be set up for success. But if you don't, and sometimes you're gonna have to make the mistakes like I did back in the day. I didn't know this. I didn't decide to start the personal brand to fail, but it ended up being a failure because I wasn't at that level of personal development. So sometimes you just have to go through hardship, personal development in order to get to the level where you can succeed, and that's just a part of your journey. But having the right motivations and having the right systems will give you the best possible chance of success. So that's what I'd highly recommend you do with everything: the gym, your diet, any sort of habit or any sort of goal that you have in mind. This is how you're going to achieve it 100%. So if you haven't been achieving your goals, you know exactly what you need to do. And if you want help achieving your goals in anything that I talk about on this channel that's regarding to life maxing, whether it's getting more disciplined, making more money, dating advice, anything, book a free 30-minute coaching call with me down below. That's where we're gonna go through where you're at currently in your life, where you wanna get to, and how we can give you some actionable steps in order to achieve that. So if that sounds of interest, go ahead and check that out. If you like what I'm talking about on this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.